Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this.
Hello!
Hi! Welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash
And Becky.
Today we're feeling a bit bougie because we've got a new webcam. We've gone back to our old microphone because we felt like those little microphones here were a bit dodgy.
Our hair was getting in the way.
There was some dodgy sound issues. We thought. So hopefully you can see us crystal clear if you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify, and you can hear us nice and clearly if you're listening to us on your podcast player. So
today, what are we talking about?
Today, we are going back on the spiritual side of things, aren't we? Because we just had a little realisation today. Well, I actually realised today while I was doing yoga that we hadn't spoken about the spiritual things for a while, had we?
No.
Very much like the psychology vibes we've been going on. Which is part of why we wanted to start the podcast as well, wasn't it? But I think I was really thinking back to why did we start this? What do we want to talk about? And it was really about blending and merging the psychology, the self-help work, the inner work with the spirituality as well, wasn't it? Because it helped us, didn't it?
They're so well matched, aren't they? And it's just such a good tool to have with your development and your self exploration.
Yes. That's a child. Sorry, guys. Apologise for childish fluffy minds. It's the camera. Really it's the camera. We don't know what this camera's doing. We look like voluptuous. Okay, right. We don't edit, so we're leaving this in. But anyway, back to seriousness. We're talking about oracle cards today, guys.
Yes. Fun.
Exciting fun.
Oh, tell us about it. What ones you got?
Okay, so I've actually got 4 sets of oracle cards, but I just brought out 3 because these are my favourites, and I also think these are the best ones to start off with. My other one is kind of a little bit more out there, a bit more advanced, and don't want to scare people just yet. But I really like Carl Gray. This is not we're not sponsored by Carl Gray. It's just because I like Carl Gray. I like his oracle deck. So I have got, this is the first deck I ever got. Can you see it? Yeah. So it is the Angel Guide Oracle. Yeah. So they're angel cards. And yeah, they're just so, all of them are just so lovely. It's so simple. And it's a really good starter deck to have. Yeah. And then this one's also Carl Gray, and this one is called Keepers of the Light. And these are all like archetypes of ascended masters, spiritual people that have been on the earth, and they kind of share their energy. So Joan of Arc is in here, for example. Jesus would be in here, Buddha, Native Americans, just all sorts of people. Ones you have heard of, ones you probably haven't heard of. But like I said, it's more about the energy that they hold, what they come here to help you with. So they're actually really helpful to use. And then this is the one you've got as well, isn't it? I've got that
one, yes.
So these are by Rebecca Campbell, and these are called Work Your Light Oracle cards. It's so pretty. To be fair, I'll be honest, the reason I bought these cards is because I was so drawn to them by the colours.
So pretty.
So pretty, aren't they? But the cards are actually really good because they've got like 3 or 4 different types of card in there. So there's like things that will give you things you have to do, like activation. Some of them are questions to help you, like they're called inquiry cards, I think. And then some of them are confirmation cards, so it just gives you a definite like yes or no. So anyway, they are the 3 sets of oracle cards that I use on, you know, when I'm doing my card pull. So I feel like we may have just jumped the gun a little bit, but we just wanted to share them with you. So oracle cards then, what are they? Because there's oracle cards and then there's tarot cards, isn't there? And I don't know tarot.
No,
like I've had tarot card readings. I don't know how to read tarot cards. I've never been massively drawn to tarot cards, although I understand how powerful they can be. I feel like it's a whole thing you have to learn about and understand what the cards mean and how to read them, and then you know they mean different things when they're upside down and all sorts. And I just don't have time or the inclination to want to learn that to be able to do it justice. So I'd rather someone else just read them for me, and they're brilliant. I love them.
But that's something you can do on your own, isn't it?
Oracle cards, anyone can use them, and they're so light. So I know before I knew an awful lot about tarot cards, I just found them quite dark, like
and
the energy.
I'd heard, that they could be quite scary.
And I think because there's cards like death and the devil, and it kind of, and I think the traditional drawings of the tarot cards are a little bit kind of eerie, a bit dark, a bit grim. You know, I understand why it has that kind of like energy about it. I don't think they are. They're not.
No.
They just don't mean if you get a death card, it doesn't mean you're going to die. You know, it's what they symbolise. But with angel cards or oracle cards, everything's just so much lighter. Like the pictures are gorgeous and uplifting. The messages are always uplifting. But that doesn't mean they're just like all positive. They do get you to work, and they do get you to address the things that it's not all like fairies and unicorns.
No, exactly.
But it's just presented in a more light way, I suppose. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So so where do we even start? When I first got the oracle cards, and remember I was like, I talked to you about them and I've got them, I was like, ooh, I don't want to do it wrong. I don't know how to do it. I don't know like who's controlling the cards, like where is how does it work? Does, you know, there was just so many questions. And then I got, like I always do, and I think this is kind of normal with when you get into the spiritual world, you get overwhelmed, don't you, by everybody telling you like you should do it this way, this is how you lay out the card, and you have to read it like this, and you must do this kind of spread, and you know, this is where the messages are coming from, and this is who's doing it. And then you're just like, oh, so if I don't do it like that, I'm doing it wrong. And what if I'm not kind of, you know, it all gets overwhelming. And then I think it just makes you think, nah, I don't want to do it.
No, that's right.
Or you just don't trust them. Even if you do a reading, you're just like, well, I don't know what that means, or I don't trust that, I don't believe that, chuck them back in the pack. And I know that's how I was when I first started reading them. I read the instruction book, because they all come with a booklet. I read the instruction book, I read how to do the card layouts, and I did those card layouts. But what I found was that it just didn't really sit with me.
No.
You know, and this is the message that we give over and over again in our podcast, because it's for a reason, isn't it? But it's like spirituality and this kind of journey is all about listening to your own intuition and doing what feels right for you, because what feels right for some person is not necessarily going to be right for you. It's great to listen to things like this, like our podcast, and you know, watching other people, reading books, listening to people talk about how they do it. It's great because it gives you a starting point and it gives you some direction, but never ever ever just take what people say. Like even us, don't just think because they say it, that's the right way to do it, because that is absolutely not the case. You've got to make it work for you. You've got to do what resonates with you, even if it's the complete opposite of what everybody else is telling you is the right way to do it, because there is no right way to do it.
No.
The only right thing to do is to trust yourself and what you want to do and what feels right to you. Really trust that. And this is the whole reason really why I actually wanted to do an episode on oracle cards, because they are such an incredible tool to get you in touch with your intuition.
Yeah.
They are not the oracle.
Mm.
You are.
Yes. Yeah, and it's putting the power back onto you, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you are the oracle. It's just guiding you.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
To get the information out of you and to help you. And so in that way, I'm so grateful to those cards. They've got so much love in them now, I'll tell you, because I'm just so... It's like you build up a relationship with them. Yeah. You really, really do.
Yeah, because you tend to get, when you're going through one part of your journey, you tend to get the same cards, or variations of the same cards, don't you? Mm-hmm. Over and over, and you build that relationship. Oh, I've obviously still haven't sorted this one out. Yeah. And then when you stop getting that card, you feel like you've leveled up. Mm-hmm. And like you say, you get your archetypes. You've built loads of relationships with your archetypes. Yeah. When you get one, when you get Joan, we all know about Joni and Tash. You know exactly what you have to do.
Yeah. So as soon as Joan starts popping up and appearing again, I'm like, oh, where am I not speaking up for myself? Where am I being scared to speak my truth? And this is how you can use those cards. And so that is the best way to look at oracle cards, not looking at them like that the answers are in there and there's some kind of magic is giving you the answers. Now, it's funny, isn't it? Because I say that, and I personally do believe there is something guiding you to either choose those cards. I mean, you can choose the cards however you want. So the way I do it, again, is not the way that the book says to do it, but that didn't feel right to me. So what feels right to me is that I shuffle the cards whilst I have an intention in my mind. Yeah. And then once I feel like I've shuffled them enough, and I'll get like a little nudge where I'll go, that's it, done. Mm-hmm. And then I will just hold them in my hand and I'll drop them. Mm-hmm. I'll drop them at a certain place, and wherever it drops, that's the top card. That's the one I pick up. That's how I do it. That. Yeah. So, how do you do it?
I just fan them out and then sort of just hover my hand over the top. And when I feel like the inclination to dip down, or say my finger accidentally brushes over one, I think, oh, I'll grab that one. Or sometimes one sort of falls out, don't they? When you're shuffling and you think, oh, okay, I better grab that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, so that's two different ways of doing it. So I used to do the fan out method. Yeah. It didn't work for me. Right. I didn't like doing it. Like that. No, so I just...
I like that.
that. And, you might do it and then go, oh, no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
It just depends, doesn't it?
I feel like the way you're doing it, it's more like you really are letting them choose. Whereas I feel like my own mind comes into play when I'm hovering, when you're overthinking things. And
that's why I didn't like doing that, because I felt like my logical mind was overtaking my intuition.
That's how I feel. Yeah. So I love that. I'm going to try
give
that.
It a try.
I will.
And so, so that's how I pick my cards. Now, with, just going back to like the magic kind of, I do truly think that there's some kind of thought. I don't know, because we don't know, do we? We don't know. But I always, when I'm pulling the cards, I always like talk to my spirit team. And I'm like, my team, I've got loads of people on my team. I'm just like, you help me, guys. Come on. This is what I need. Like, this is the answer that I need. Help me do it. Yeah. Guide me. And so I trust that if I'm listening to my intuition, they're the ones that are manipulating which card is going to come out. And as long as I trust my intuition, I'm going to allow that to happen, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think by doing that, by pulling the cards that way, and by kind of connecting to your spirit team, or whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, the spirit guide, a loved one in heaven, just whoever's out there, like whatever you want. If you get that unseen world involved, it really helps build your trust in the spiritual world, in the unseen world, in your guides, and you start building up a relationship, because that is what, if you're stepping into like your spirituality and you're trying to open up your mind to seeing, believing, knowing that there are unseen forces all around us who are actually helping us, who have a lot of influence in helping you create like co-create your life, these are the ways that you can start really leaning into that and building up that trust, because it takes time.
Yeah.
And again, this is why I wanted to talk about the oracle cards, because it was a huge part of the puzzle of me building up that relationship with this unseen world, because it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of, you know, there's some lucky people out there, the psychics and mediums, who actually get to experience almost tangibly with their senses the other side. You know, the mediums that can see people who have passed over, they can see them with their eyes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You don't need, that's all the proof and belief you need. Like instantly you're done. But for people who don't necessarily see things like that all the time on a regular basis, it's really, really hard to build a belief in something that you can't tangibly experience.
Yeah.
And this is the whole problem with you know, the whole world, society struggling to accept this unseen world, because we've just been taught to rely on all of our five senses, and if we're not experiencing it with our five senses, and then it's not real. And so it's very, very hard to go against that, to go against our programming, to go against everything we've been told, and to actually start focusing and concentrating on the much, much more subtle messages and ways that we experience things, because we all do. You know, the gut feeling, the bodily, like the tingles, goosebumps, you know, stuff like that. All of that we are all experiencing, but we just don't give it any credit and we don't give it any attention. But the more you can train yourself to give attention to those things, the more you'll realise, wow,
how much of it is around. Exactly.
And you start trusting it and pay attention to it. You can then use that and rely on that as much as you rely on your eyes and your ears.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then when you can do that, magical things start happening, don't they?
I get so many more tingles and things like that now that I never got before. And you know it's something, and you know, oh, hang on, pay attention. And it's really useful, isn't it?
It's really useful. In a practical level, it's so useful. If I'm having a conversation with you, for example, and I say, oh, you know, Bex, I was thinking about doing this, and I but I don't know, and then all of a sudden I'll just get goosebumps all over. I'm like, that's it, I have to do it. There's my confirmation. Now before I would just have ignored that and been like, what's a chili in here? But now I know, because I've trained myself to look at those, to focus on those things. I know now, oh, that's what that is. That's my spidey senses, basically. And I trust them as much as I trust my eyes and my ears now, if not more. Because when you really start paying attention, you feel it so much more deeply. It's like it resonates as complete truth. I can't explain it any other way. I know you know what I'm talking about, and hopefully, you know, some of you listening will know what I'm talking about when I say it just rings so true on such a deep level inside you that you just know it's right, even if it seems crazy to the outside. But long tangent to say, this is why oracle cards are so great to be used as a tool to help you build up your trust in the unseen world, in your own intuition, which then helps you on an everyday basis in incredible ways. And we're talking about, you know, in your work, in your career, in your relationship with your kids, with the relationship with yourself, just experiencing life in general. When you're in touch with your intuition, everything becomes easier, more magical, and you are in control. It's like you've all of a sudden just plugged yourself in to this massive network of wisdom and love and excitement and wonder and magic. So
it's really hard, isn't it, when you first start? I'm just thinking back to when we were starting, and do you remember, like, you used to, in meditation, go to your field and open up, and it just wasn't, you know, it's just thinking back to how difficult it is actually to get that connection. So like you're saying, it's such a good tool to use alongside everything else, because that's what we're all desperate, that's why we're here, isn't it, talking today, because we're desperate to be connected to it and get the most out of it that we can. We've just tuned it all out, haven't we? Because once you start, you just feel everything. So when we were thinking about doing a little
we were going to do a carpool, weren't we? So I suppose if we just quickly run through, like, because people could still be sat listening thinking, so how do I do a carpool? If I went out and bought an oracle card set, or I've got one gathering dust on my bookshelf. How do I use it? So what I would suggest to do, and this is from doing it and learning and kind of stopping following the rules and doing it for myself, is that you want to have a good question. You want to set a good question up first. I think that is the most important thing, and that was what I struggled with the most when I first started doing oracle cards. I was like, should I do hypnotherapy as a job? Right, that's such a rubbish question to use for oracle cards, because there are yes and no cards in there a lot of the time. I think two sets of those cards have got yes and no cards in, but it's just not helpful, is it? That's really not helpful. You want to really get good at asking big open questions. So for example, what are my next best steps to take to find a career that lights me up? What do I have to know and do to find a career that lights me up, that fulfills me? Right, all of a sudden, that's a really, really big open question. So it gives your intuition a chance to think bigger. We don't want to think small. We need to think expansive. And it's those type of questions that are going to get you better results in your cards. So that's the first thing. Really think about a really open question. You don't want to be too broad, like, what do I need to... I mean, you can say what... Sometimes I do. Sometimes if I'm just like, I've got nothing in particular, I'll say, well, all right, guys, again, talking to them, building that relationship, using my cards to almost communicate with them, because I'm not a fully blown psychic medium who can just have a conversation with my spirit guides in my mind, not all the time anyway. So I use that as a method of communication, a bit like a text message, so they can directly contact you. And that is how I see my cards. I see them as my unseen guides communicating with me through them, through the cards, but also through my own intuition. So it's a mixture of both. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And so by doing that, every time you do the cards, you're building up a relationship with your spirit team, with the universe, with whatever you want to call it. And you get the answers, and they'll surprise you in the best way. And then every time you do that, you have more and more faith in them helping you. You have more belief and trust in your own intuition, and it just goes from there. Can't stress that enough. So good question. Then you want to decide how you want to do your cards, like we spoke about. I shuffle them, you spread them out, and don't follow the booklet. So me personally, again, this is just me, I like to take one card from each of my packs. That's what I do. However, some days I'll be like, feeling like I need to take 2 from that pack today, or I take 2 from all of them. Actually, I don't want to pull those cards today. I'm just going to so I totally am led by what I feel like doing that day. And that is me really, really trusting my intuition, because before I was like, can't do that. Got to lay out the cards properly. I need to have as many cards as possible to give me the biggest answer. and like, just don't do that. And like you said before, the jumpers. I always pay attention to the jumpers. If I'm shuffling and a card just flings out, I'm like, thanks guys, and I'll take that one and I'll use it. And more often than not, a jumper, I'm like, oh my god, of course I've got that card. So again, like, just go with it. Having said that though, if a jumper pops out and you think that wasn't a jumper, that doesn't feel magical to me, I just dropped that, put it back in. You don't know. Who's to know that the one that I deem magical is magical and the one I don't deem magical is not magical? Nobody knows. And this is the thing. You could be sat there thinking, but surely they're just cards that are flown out of the pack. They are just cards that are flown out of the pack if that's how you see them. But if you see them as that was meant to get my attention, I'm meant to see that card, it will hold power for you, and you will use your intuition to get the message that you need. Those cards aren't magical. Those cards aren't magical. They've just got great topics on them. And your mind, your intuition, if you allow it, will manipulate those messages to appeal to you, to resonate with you, because you have the answers within you. And does that make sense? Like, I know I can see you get what I'm talking about. It's like it's just pulling out what you already know. and giving you confirmation. That's what it is. It's a little bit of confirmation for you that, you're on the right track. See, look, you know this. This is what you know you've got to do this. You know? And so, so shuffle them, get them out, and then pull your cards however you want to pull them. And then the next thing is when you've pulled them, don't judge them. Because sometimes, like I know in the beginning, it was really easy for me to just go, I don't like that card. I don't want that one. That's not what I wanted to see. No. If you don't want to see it, you really need to pay attention to it, because that's highlighting to you one of your triggers. And or if you just think, well, that's just not relevant to me, sit with it for a minute and just allow whatever comes through to pop into your mind and pay attention. It's very, very rare now I'll pick a card and think, I can't do anything with that. But if I do get a card like that, I'll say, okay, maybe that's for the future. Maybe in a couple of days' time, that will pop back into my mind and I'll be like, oh, that's why it was that. And I have had that before. So again, this is about, like, the skeptic could sit here and go, oh, for God's sake, Tash, well, you're just making it fit. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm making it fit by using my intuition. I'm not making it fit by using my logical mind. I'm making it fit and exercising my intuition there. So I'm not trying to manipulate what I want it to say. No. And I think this is one of the things that you have to practice when you're using oracle cards is to stay completely neutral. Like we say this all the time, don't we? Everything's neutral. You have to stay neutral. It's your beliefs and, your thoughts, that your emotions that put the perspective on it. So when you're doing the oracle cards, stay neutral as you can and just look at it from an objective view. Yeah. And then that's when you'll be able to let your intuition come in. Yeah. That's the difference. If you're looking at it to find something that you want to find, that's not your intuition. No. And those cards aren't going to help you properly. No. If you remain neutral and just be curious, to be like, right, okay, what's this? Yeah. That's when you get into your intuition. And I know it's easy. It's easy for me to sit here and say that now because I've had like 4 years of practice. Yeah. But it wasn't that easy when I first started, but I kept going. And I kept trying the same thing over and over. Just remain neutral. Don't think about it. Just remain neutral. And over time, it's just become completely natural to me now. And I'm telling you, like every single card pull, I will pull a card, and I'm not gonna lie. Most of the time when I pull a card, I'm crying. I'm like, oh my God, this is so thank you so much. This is exactly like I just knew it. I knew this is it because it's so unbelievably relevant. I cannot describe to you how those cards can tell me exactly the answer to what I've been looking for or confirm exactly what I've been thinking about, down to that particular morning that I pulled a card. Almost like the actual words that I've said to myself before have been in those cards. And this is another thing. This leads me on to another thing. So once you've pulled your cards, look at them. Like, look at them and see how you feel. That's what I started off saying. Right. Look at the picture, because a lot of the time the pictures are there to help, can spark, things in you as well. They could be messages within the pictures. And then before you read the booklet, just look at what the card says, because there's always like a small description on the card, isn't it? Yeah. Before you even look at the booklet, feel into what that is trying to say to you and how that could be relevant to your question and to how you're feeling at the moment. Then when you go onto the book, don't necessarily assume that everything in the book is going to be related to you. Because like I said, sometimes, the explanation in the book has kind of been like, well, yeah, obviously, that's relevant. And then bam, there'll just be like a sentence where I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly those words that I was thinking, or that's what someone's just told me this morning. So it can just be that cards come up specifically because it wanted you to read that one little passage in the whole page. Does that make sense? And again, it's about being open, not being so strict and tied to rules and expecting that everything has to be black and white and straightforward. You have to be willing to kind of like move with it and take bits and pieces that resonate and feel right to you. And that's really hard to do because, like we said, we're so used to being, told, well, you're going to see what you want to see. Yeah. Like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you this is what you have to lean into. You have to lean into that. And like I said, as long as you're bearing in mind that there's leaning into something, like seeing what you want to see because your conscious mind wants to see it, or seeing what you want to see because you're just allowing yourself to be neutral, and picking up the patterns and remembering what's happened before and how it ties in. Because again, when you're doing this kind of spiritual work and you're trying to build your trust in your intuition and the unseen world, the whole point that we always talk about that runs through our podcast is you have to stay conscious. You have to be super aware. That's what we're trying to do with our podcast, isn't it? Open people's minds to seeing the world in a different way, paying attention to these kind of subtleties. And the more you do that in your everyday life, the more the oracle cards are going to be more helpful, because you're paying attention to every little thing that pops up. You probably find that you've had a few synchronicities already, and then you do the oracle cards and bam, there's your last one, and you're like, right, okay, this is it. This is, you know? So that's how, I would say, I think I've covered everything in terms of doing the oracle cards. Now, like, obviously then you have a few oracle cards, read them, and what I always find is that mine are like a story. They almost like blend in together.
Yeah, they always,
they really do,
don't they?
Yeah,
they always complement each other.
Yeah, and
yet some of them can be quite different.
Very different. Yeah, and like you said as well, it's really strange how in a period of time you'll keep getting, there's 44 cards in most decks, and you'll keep getting the same cards over and over again. There's so many cards in those decks. I've had them for 4 years, a lot of them, that I haven't ever even seen.
No.
And then there's other ones where they just come up almost every time.
Yes.
But like you said, you start working through these things, and I'll say to you, like, oh, I feel like I've cracked that. I feel like I've done it. And then those cards will disappear, and I won't see them again. And these new cards will come up, and we'll be like, oh, we've got this card today, like, haven't seen that one before. And that, again, just shows you there's something going on with these cards. I think it's a bit of both. In my opinion, I think it's your intuition and how you're trusting your intuition and your gut and all of that. And I also do think it's this unseen world that are manipulating the physical cards. One time I had a tarot reading, and she shuffled, the woman that was doing it for me, she shuffled the cards in front of me. And then she said, and I've never had this before, she said, I'm just going to go through all of my cards to make sure they're all the right way up. Because like I said to you, tarot cards, they mean something completely different if they're upside down. So I watched her go through every single one of the cards, and they were all the right way up. When she did my card reading, there were like, I think she pulled about 12 cards, and 5 of them were upside down. And I was just like,
whoa.
What?
How?
I literally saw her
make sure they were...
And she said to me, she said, I've never had this many upside down cards in a reading before. And what was even more funny was that the cards that were upside down, so one was the devil upside down, and there was another kind of like darker one, I should say, but it's not dark, but you know what I mean, that was also upside down. And she was like, this reading would have been completely different if those 2 cards had been the right way up. It would have been quite a negative reading, but she said, this is the most beautiful card and incredible card spread I've ever seen.
Wow.
Because they were upside down, it had a completely different meaning to it. And from that time on, I always think about that now when I do my cards, because I'm like, obviously that the oracle cards, it's not about being upside down with these ones, but I always do think there's someone up there manipulating the physical matter down here. And again, we've gone into our episodes like the reality ones where we think this is all solid, but actually it's just empty space and it's energy and particles flashing in and out. When you think about it on a quantum physics level, of course they can, if that's what's happening, of course they can manipulate the energy and make a card turn upside down or disappear. Like, how many times have we had things where we know that we've left something in a certain spot, and then we go there and it's not there? And you look and you're like, oh, I know it was there, and it's just gone. And then you come back a bit later and it's bam, it's there again. Like that. My theory is this is the kind of thing that's happening. You could go down a whole rabbit hole of like time, like different parallel realities and moving in and out of dimensions and stuff. But just like, I've just gone down a hole. I've just opened up an Aladdin's cave there, haven't I? Like, come on, Tasha, get back to it. We're talking about oracle cards, for goodness sake. But anyway, just to say, I do think like there's magic involved with the oracle cards. Magic from the other side and magic from you. Yes. And I think it's about just respecting that and acknowledging it and embracing it. And pulling the oracle cards can be such a magical, emotional, touching experience and a real way to connect with your spiritual nature, to connect with the other side. Because like I said, there's so many times where I've just literally been in tears, like happy tears, pulling those cards, because I'm like, you are basically, I just feel like they're talking to me right here, right now, in the best way, like the most positive, motivational way. And that feeling that you get where you're like, oh my God, I'm right, like my intuition is spot on, and this has confirmed it for me, and it just builds that trust in yourself. And when you have trust and belief in yourself, you're unstoppable. Honestly, you really are. So I can't stress enough how important oracle cards actually are, because I know a lot of people say, oh, don't use oracle cards because it stops you from trusting in yourself, and it stops you, you become reliant on these things. And I fine, okay, I can see. I don't ever go, I'm going to go and ask my cards, I'm going to ask cards. I only do my cards when I feel drawn towards pulling them, when I feel like it's a good day to pull a card. I won't ever pull them if I'm feeling in a like low vibrational down mood. I'll never pull them. I will wait until I'm feeling a little bit lighter. So I do agree, you don't want to like become reliant on them, but I think they have a really important place in helping you actually truly trust yourself and your intuition and build a relationship with the other side. So do you want to do a quick what should we do it on then? Have you got something?
God, I don't know. What should we do?
Or we could do something like about something maybe for the listeners.
Maybe what, like, what do they want everybody to take from this episode?
Yes. That one? Okay, so let's do it like in real time. So we were like, right guys, hello, thank you for working with us. And we're going to do a card pull today, and our intention is to give a message that is going to be helpful for everybody listening. What is the most important thing that they need to know after listening to this episode? Right, there we go. Cool. So that's like a really open question. So I'm going to get my angel cards.
They're so pretty.
I know. I'm surprised you haven't got these.
I know. I would like some more.
Nearly had a jumper there, but we didn't. I'm quite a cack-handed shuffler, I've realised. I have to really concentrate. But usually when I'm on my own, so when I'm shuffling, I'd be kind of getting into the zone as well. I'd be like chilling out, trying to clear my mind, get myself in that neutral space. And keep hold of that intention of my question. So right now, while I'm doing this, I am actually thinking like, I want you to like pick a card that is gonna like serve everybody and be exactly what they need to hear right now. Okay.
Whoa. It so wants to jump.
Right, okay. So this is how I do it. Oh, we got two!
I love your way.
That's a yes! What's the chances? You never get transformation, guys. Transformation. Yes to transformation.
Yes. Tells the story.
It does, doesn't it? And so like I would literally just look, that's really interesting. Both the arms are like spread out and open. Do you see? Yeah.
Because I don't think
spread out and open.
I take the time to look at the pictures like you said, so I will really do that now.
So guys, you guys who are listening to this now, it's a time of transformation. So look, I haven't even looked at the book yet. No. But for me, I would say this is a time for you guys where you're listening, you're in a period of transformation.
I mean, how appropriate.
Yes is just like amazing. Yeah, of course, isn't it? And yes is just like, yes, do it. And then you can go and read the book. Why can't I do my alphabet? Here we go. Right, you're ready to move beyond energies or situations that are no longer helpful to you and to make space in your life for something more purposeful. You may feel a real need for clearing out at this time. And I'll just say, at the moment of recording this podcast, it's the energies are really like potent for releasing and clearing out old ties. And but you know, people could be listening to this at any time, so always good to clear out. Not just physically, but mentally and spiritually too. As you remove the clutter and debris from your world, you welcome in the energy of transformation. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, you are ready to move beyond the previous limitations of your life. You are moving away from stagnancy or the feeling of being held back, and are taking the heavy energies of your life and making them light so that you can fully embrace who you were born to be. I mean, like... It's so relevant, isn't it? It's so relevant for why we're doing this podcast and our message. So there is an extended message. When this card appears, angels are acknowledging the emotional and physical transformations that have taken place in your life. They can see you more clearly now that you have released the old and fusty thoughts and situations. There is a feeling of renewal now, and you're moving into a space where you are more comfortable than ever with who you are. You have a spark of splendor burning in the depths of your being, and this spark is creating positive and loving experiences for you now. It's time to enjoy the benefits of your commitment to your growth.
Wow.
Well, I think that was an awesome card. Guys, you're going to have to let us know. Come into the Facebook group, into our Facebook group. The details are in the show notes. And let us know if this resonated with you. And if this, if this meant something to you. Because I know that was good for me today. That's quite relevant for me today.
Very much.
And also it's very much... in line with, like we said, that our message that we're trying to get across, like our whole MO for doing this podcast, isn't it?
Exactly. And the reason why we started listening to podcasts, when you think, I just can remember you coming to me and I'd never even listened to any podcast before, and you were like, oh, you're getting into these podcasts, you've got to try this and that. And that literally was the time of transformation, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So
it was. Here we go.
That's why we're searching for these things.
Yeah.
So relevant.
Oh, I love it. And again, you know, I wonder if anyone listening is like, I don't know. I just feel like you could just make it fit. It just shows that you just need to have a little bit more practice in doing it yourself. Because the more you can do it for yourself, the more it means.
That's right.
You know,
and you've got your energy behind it,
you know what you're thinking, you know what you're feeling, you know what you've what thoughts you've been having in the days before, and then when you do the card pull and you see your thoughts basically on paper, you start realizing, oh wow, and get used to just allowing yourself to be okay with making it fit. It reminds me of what I say to my clients with the hypnosis. You know, always I say to them, if you feel like you're making it up, you're doing it right. We've been so trained to just be like, anything that we are imagining is not real. And it's not. It's actually,
I mean, and that's what's knocking the intuition out of everyone, isn't it?
Because our imagination, our intuition are so intricately linked. It's like a language. It is the language of our intuition. It's the language of our subconscious. It's the language of intuition. And it's been drummed into us, and we drum it into our own kids. I mean, not anymore, but I know before with mine, imagination is for children. Imagination is nice, you know, but it's not real.
No, exactly.
And that's like not the truth. Actually, your imagination is the doorway to the real truth, to the truth that empowers you, to the truth of like what is really going on in this world and the unseen world. And if you can just practice getting used to using your imagination and believing in it and allowing it, that is when you'll start having better meditations. You'll start being able to listen to your gut, and you'll start following it and trusting it, and then it will lead you to great things, and you'll be like, well, why was I not using this before? You know, it will just make you happier in life. So if anything from this episode, 1, go get some oracle cards and start pulling them right now. 2, trust your imagination, trust yourself, start building up your intuition so that you can really access this, like I said, this wealth of knowledge and love and just magic. And the oracle cards is just one easy, fun tool to help you build up your intuition. And I think we need to do some more episodes like just on the ways we've built up our intuition. Like off the top of my head now, I'm thinking about how we used to play that game with like having one of us would have a thought in our mind, and then we'd be like, right, come on then, let's send over some images and let's see if we can pick up. We used to do it on a dog walk, didn't we? That was one of the things, and it was fun.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Until now, we're like, we just send messages to each other all the time, and we don't even like have to think about it. We just do it. It's just natural. It's not even like we know we're doing it. It's just natural, isn't it?
No,
but it started with that.
We don't need text anymore, do we? We just do it telepathically.
Yeah, and that sounds mental, but it's actually true. And it all started with us going, right, I'm thinking of something. What am I thinking of?
Green apple.
I was just thinking of apple. Okay, guys, we got to go now. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you found this episode as fun to listen to as we have talking about. It was so fun, wasn't it?
It was fun.
And if you've got oracle cards, send us pictures on the group.
Oh,
of what ones you've got. Because I might want some more. It's always good to have more, isn't it? And if you want to know anything else, or you have any other questions about oracle cards, let us know. Get in contact with us. And I think that's it, isn't it?
That's it.
See you later. Bye.